Hello Turkaholics, welcome back to Football a la Turca, your weekly dose of the excitement, controversy and crazy world of Turkish football. My name is Kaan and I am joined this week by a little bit of a different panel. We have Umut Nadere, as always, Yakup Marufolu, Özer Dinger, man of the law Burak Yilmaz isn't here, but filling in for him is Pat Cox. Pat, it's been a while since we talked to you. Thank you for joining us and filling in for Burak.
You're very welcome. Yeah, it's been a while, but it's good to be back as always. And looking forward to another interesting week's football.
Definitely. It's been another crazy week in Turkish football. But before we get to that, it's been a fantastic world of controversy once again in Turkish football. But so much happened outside of the world of football this week that just transcends everything. And let's start first and foremost with the big earthquake that hit Elazığ earlier this week, that also hit the neighboring province of Malatya. There's been tremors throughout the week, really. I know that my friend's currently staying in Izmir. There were a couple of tremors there. I believe yesterday there was one, or even today there was one in Manisa, and it's been a little bit crazy. The region has been hit hard, but I believe the one in Elazığ was 6.8 on the Richter scale. Many people hurt, injured, deaths even. So before we continue talking about football, let's just first give our condolences to the families that lost their homes, that got injured, that even lost family members and loved ones in that terrible...
I think you've covered everything really quite nicely, and our thoughts go out to everyone who was affected by that, and hopefully there's no repeat anytime soon.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, Turkey is kind of on that area where the what did they call them? The tectonic plates.
Fault line.
Yeah, the fault lines. Yeah.
So it's kind of a reoccurring phenomenon in Turkey that there's earthquakes quite regularly, but 6.8 is, of course, exceptional.
Yeah.
And that's not the only thing that happened, of course. This week, another tragedy in the world of sport, and even beyond that, really, as Kobe Bryant passed away in a tragic helicopter crash. And not just Kobe Bryant, but also his daughter, his 13-year-old daughter, another father, I believe, and his daughter. They were going to, I believe, the basketball game of Kobe's daughter, and that was quite shocking as well. And the whole world really in shock about that. Özer, I know you went to the Chicago Bulls game yesterday.
Yeah.
What happened there?
That's right. Yeah, I was there last. Yeah, I mean, I was there last night, and it was amazing to see. Obviously, the lights of the arena outside were lit up in purple and gold, which was nice, and there were banners for Kobe and everything. But it was really quite amazing to see how many people showed up wearing a Lakers Bryant shirt, which is probably something that's quite unprecedented in a Bulls game, particularly given the kind of the loyalty to the colours and the legend of Jordan and everything. So it was quite an amazing occasion. Had a moment of silence and a nice tribute at the start of the game. And it was quite a kind of a sombre start to the match because of that. As you said before, his legacy kind of transcends basketball and transcends sport overall. He was such an inspirational icon. And his loss is something that still a lot of people, all of ourselves included, finding it very hard to stomach, really. And yeah, it's a really sad loss. Really sad loss.
Yeah, he was just 41 years old. Leaves behind him a wife and three more daughters, if I'm not mistaken. So
and even from a Turkish connection as well. He was, of course, the Turkish Airlines brand ambassador for a while. Mm-hmm. Appeared in a few fun advertisements for the airline. Of course, he was invited to Galatasaray in 2011 to have a kickabout on the pitch, which is pretty cool. What a guy and what a character, and he'll be sorely missed. There was only one Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's a great ending there. I don't know, Yakup or Umut, Pat, if any of you want to add something to that.
Well, he's always a god to the kid who was born after the 90s. Mm-hmm. Like, who made us love basketball. Like, I've started watching NBA in 2002, around something, and he was there every time. Like he's in Lakers, he was like a hero for all the all the kids, and even the bigger ones, like all the people respect him, and seeing him gone is really terrible. First I saw the news, I thought like, let this be a joke, please, because it looked like unreal to me. Like I was shaking, and I didn't really became aware of what happened, but eventually got to know that he was in a helicopter and he got crashed, and it's so bad. And I just want to say that I respect him really well, and really, really sorry for his loss.
Yeah, for their family, and of course everyone, all the Lakers fans and all the fans in general. Yakup, I think you're a basketball fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm actually a pretty new one. I started watching in 2013, but the legend of Kobe, his work ethic, the way he looked at games, the way he looked at footage, the way he was open to learn and open to teach anyone what to do and how to train, and just everything surrounding the guy is just clouded in a cloud of positivity, and I still don't really get it, to be honest. When Umut posted the link, I thought it was just one of his cruel jokes. Maybe it just didn't hit me, that it actually happened. And I kept just thinking about it for the last couple of days. I don't normally get really emotional by a celebrity death, but for some reason this one is just, I don't know, man. He had a full career. He's one of the greatest players to play the game, in my opinion, the greatest Laker to ever play the game. He retired. His retirement game was one of the best retirement games,
60 points.
The best. 60 points against the Utah Jazz, and it still doesn't feel real for me. I'm looking through my Instagram feed, through my Twitter feed, and I keep seeing posts from, seeing the post from Shaq, seeing LeBron break down on the airport. It still doesn't feel real to me. Seeing all the love pour out from all the fans, celebrities, Jimmy Fallon crying on air, Jimmy Kimmel devoting his whole program just to show all the segments with him and Kobe. I don't know, man. This feels it probably won't really dawn on me for a long time, and you will be greatly missed. One of the greatest to ever play the game, and gone too soon.
Pat, anything to add?
Yeah, I think as an icon, really, it's even I'm just I can't believe it. I think with it coming so soon after LeBron, obviously, passing him in the number of points, and just kind of in a weird way, just being so close, I think really shook people up. Myself included. I think obviously a EuroLeague fan in Europe, but follow sort of NBA very, very occasionally. But just to see such an icon who transcends not just basketball but sport as well is shocking. Even now it's just unbelievable, really. So, big thoughts and love and everything to his family and the families of those who also lost family members in that terrible crash.
It's difficult to fathom how we don't know a person like that, and I don't think any of us are massive NBA fans. Maybe Yakup and Umut a little bit more, but I mean, for us, of course, football comes in the first place. But you don't know this person personally, but still, I think it hit everyone, and it's of course terrible when something like this happens, but especially when it's somebody that's in the limelight and in the public eye and so famous. It just everyone seems to be mourning. But yeah, let's move on to the happy and joyful world of Turkish football, where all the controversy kind of melts away when you think about more serious things like this. So let's get started with the Turkish Cup, because plenty of things happened this week in Turkish football as well. Starting off with the Turkish Cup, some shock eliminations. Let's start off with the first one. Kırklarelispor actually managed to upset Başakşehir. Their match ended in a 0-0 draw after the away game in Istanbul had ended in a 1-1 draw. So Kırklarelispor through on goal differential there. I believe they are in the 3rd division, so that's quite an upset. Then the next one, Kasımpaşa Alanyaspor. Alanyaspor qualifying here despite a 3-2 loss in Istanbul, but they of course had previously won 3-1, the aggregate scoreline here for the 5. Then Fenerbahçe outing Kayserispor 2-0 at home. That was also the aggregate score, as the first match had ended in a 0-0 draw. Beşiktaş going out against 2nd division team Büyükşehir Belediye Erzurumspor after losing 2-3 at Vodafone Park. The aggregate scoreline here 4-6, and this of course cost Abdullah Avci's his job. He got sacked after the match, the day after really, but I think it was pretty clear that he was going to get sacked. And of course, as we have learned since, Sergen Yalçin will be succeeding him at Beşiktaş. He is yet to be officially announced though, but probably by the time that you're listening to this, it will have been made official. Beşiktaş even going behind after just 30 seconds in this match, but then getting back into it, making 2-1 even in the second half, which virtually saw them through, and then they just absolutely collapsed, kind of reminiscent of their collapse in the Europa League against Club Brugge a couple of years ago, where they take the aggregate lead 1-0, the whole stadium erupts, and then they just give it away and end up losing 1-3 there, and then this it kind of reminds me a little bit of that. So very dramatic exit for Beşiktaş against Erzurumspor, that weren't even playing their best 11, because of course they're in the race for promotion in the 2nd division. They're currently in 2nd place, if I'm not mistaken, so they weren't even playing all of their best players. So let that just sink in for a moment there. So no surprise, I think, that Abdullah Avci lost his job afterwards, given the bad results recently. And moving on to Malatyaspor Sivasspor. Malatyaspor winning this one 2-1, but on aggregate they go out 2-5, as Sivasspor has had previously smacked them about 4-0 in the first leg. And then Denizlispor Trabzonspor, this match ending 2-0 in favor of Denizlispor. Trabzonspor had won the first leg 2-0, so we went to extra time, no goals, we went to penalties, and there Trabzonspor got the win on penalties. I believe it was 4-5, Yakup, correct me if I'm wrong. Otherwise, highlights of this match, I think, were Anthony Nwakayeme's red card, and I do believe that Yakup was probably going to want to speak a little bit on that.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of us agree that it's a really, really stupid red card. The referee, from all the sources that I have read, has acknowledged that it was a mistake from his part. Wakayeme has been brought down by a Denizlispor player that I just don't know from the top of my head, and for some reason you can even see the Denizlispor players the moment that the ref blows the whistle. The Denizlispor players go like, okay, I guess it's a penalty then. But he goes up to Wakayeme and gives him a yellow, and Wakayeme goes all crazy and he gets a second yellow and is sent off with a red. This moment produced the shit show that was that happened after the earthquake, with the match being postponed and Ali Koç getting on stage, telling his things, the Malatyaspor trainer telling his things. It's just a shit show all around.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit, of course. I do believe you had asked in the group as well, like, is it possible that this red card gets reverted because of the referee admitting that he was wrong? But I think it's probably not possible according to the rules, because he didn't get a direct red card for, but he actually got the red card for his outburst afterwards. So I don't really think that there's anything that the TFF could do there, honestly. Well, I mean, if they really wanted to, they can do whatever they want. Of course, we've seen that in the past.
But let's be honest.
But, I mean, that's one thing that actually I don't really 100% understand, because if that was a second yellow, that means he misses one match. Had Trabzonspor actually, because, spoiler alert, Trabzon's match against Malatyaspor got postponed this week. So had Trabzonspor actually played against Malatyaspor, Wakayeme would have served his one-match suspension, and then he would have been able to play against Fenerbahce. Now he is not able to play against Fenerbahce, so I don't really see the problem here from a Fenerbahce perspective, since Trabzonspor is guaranteed to miss one of their key players in the big match next week.
I mean, their issue is more with Trabzonspor playing a long game. The game went to extra time and was decided by the penalties, and that we now have a week extra to rest, so to say, while Fenerbahce doesn't. That's pretty much the main problem. But even before the earthquake happened, the Trabzonspor board members already decided to appeal against the red card, because a Malatya game away isn't the easiest game, and we do need every player.
Mm-hmm.
So
So has there been any result of that appeal?
Not that I know of. I have heard that they went to appeal, and they talked. They had like two situations. One of Barış Memiş, when he played with us like 40 years ago. He had the same situation happened with him, and the ref acknowledged his mistake, and the red card was rescinded.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently a game where Rushdie got a red. Don't know off the top of my head what game that is supposed to be, but they did have like proof, so to say.
But were those second yellows, or were those direct reds? Because that does play.
I have no idea, to be honest. I do know that those two players are shown as proof, as that their decision can be overruled, but I don't know all the details.
Yeah, because it differs whether it's a second yellow or it's a direct red card. The things they can do technically differ. Anyway, let's move on to the last match in the round of 16 in the Turkish Cup. Galatasaray here beating Rizespor 2-1 and 3-2 on aggregate. I think the biggest point of contention here came at the very end where Rizespor had a goal disallowed. I believe that would have been the 2-2 in the, what was it, the 7th minute of stoppage time or something? Correct me if I'm wrong, Özer or Umut?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 95th at least, yeah.
Goal got disallowed for a
I mean,
foul.
it was a bit of a fiasco, I think.
Yeah.
Bit of a fiasco, because the goal was disallowed supposedly for a foul on the goalkeeper from the opposition player.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at it, even in real time, it looks like it's Marcao who's fouling his own goalkeeper. So the fact that the goal was disallowed is a bit of a shambles, really.
Yeah, and that would have seen Rizespor through, of course, on away goals.
Yeah.
But I also read somewhere that there might have been a handball, though. Well, did you guys manage to see that there was a handball or not? I guess
I couldn't really, I couldn't. I mean, I wasn't really paying too much attention to the handball, because I assumed that the goal was disallowed for the foul.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, I don't recall there being any sort of VAR intervention or anything like that. So I think they can feel pretty hard done by, and Galatasaray in turn can feel pretty lucky to have gone through.
Okay, quickly then going to mention the quarterfinal draws. These matches will be played on the 4th, 5th or 6th of February. Matches in the quarterfinals are as follows. Büyükşehir Belediye Erzurumspor taking on Trabzonspor, Kırklarelispor taking on Fenerbahce, and the winners of those two ties will go through to the semifinals and face each other. So a semifinal of Trabzonspor-Fenerbahce could be on the cards. Then in the other bracket, Antalyaspor taking on league leaders Sivasspor, and Alanyaspor taking on Galatasaray. So potential semi-final of the league leader Sivasspor against Galatasaray. But of course, don't count the other teams out. And then the returns will be played on the 11th, 12th or 13th of February. And the semi-finals will be played on the 3rd, 4th or 5th of March. And the returns of those games will be played on the 21st, 22nd or 23rd of March. Now let's move over to the Turkish Super League, and let's start off with Friday results. We have plenty of controversy, like I said. Gençlerbirliği against Gaziantep Football Club. But this was a very strange one indeed. The match finishes 1-0, and Özer is going to give us a little bit more of the story of the match.
Yeah, I mean, you started off today's show talking about the excitement, the controversy, and the craziness of the Turkish Super League, and I think this game on Friday pretty much covered it all. It was 1-0 against Gençlerbirliği in the end, and the only legitimate goal came in the 64th minute from Sergen, from a penalty. But I guess we can start from that position, because the penalty itself was awarded after the Gaziantep defender Kaan kind of came up behind the Gençlerbirliği midfielder Daniel Candeias, is it? The Portuguese player, Candeias. Yeah, that's it. Candeias came up behind him and sort of playfully slapped him round the back of the head. The referee turned round, and I couldn't even tell if this was on the ball or off the ball, or if the ball was even in play at that, because the camera angle zoomed in so much. But the referee just turned round, booked Kaan and awarded a penalty, which I thought was pretty unusual. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. And then Sergen stepped up and scored it. But earlier on in that game, there was another penalty decision, and there was another couple of chances where Burrell hit the post, and then there was a disallowed goal at the end from Mohamed Demir. So I think, all things considered, Gaziantep will be pretty annoyed by the fact that they were allowed to lose this game. Some bizarre decisions, and I think they did come out after the match saying that they were going to challenge the game itself on the grounds that there was a kural hatası. Mm-hmm. So there was a misapplication of the rules. But when I looked into their actual announcement, they just said that they intend to make a complaint to the TFF in relation to the penalty position.
Yeah,
but they didn't go into much more detail about that. They didn't actually say what the was that they're contesting, or which penalty decision they're contesting. So I think it was a bit of a vague kind of flexing of the muscles from Gaziantep's from the club. But yeah, it was a crazy old game.
Yeah, I don't really think it is a rules violation. The penalty, it was definitely weird. I think I've seen before, when off the ball, a player hits another player in the penalty area or something, or brings whatever, when the ball is completely on the other side of the pitch. We've seen penalties given for stuff like that before. But this, like you said, it was very weird. But I don't think it's a rules violation. I wouldn't see how, unless maybe the ball was out of play. I don't know exactly if the ball.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah, because it's impossible to tell from the highlights really if the ball's in play or not. So it'll be interesting to see if that goes anywhere. I doubt that it will. I doubt that it will. Gaziantep had a pretty defensive start to the game. Anyway, they continue with their 5-man back line. Gençler, of course, were without Stanku, who's been out for a couple of weeks through an injury.
Yeah,
I'm not sure when he's scheduled to return, but they seem to be doing, they're playing decent football. They've got kind of a solid core of players against their really. So they're looking like they're kind of putting up a good campaign to stay in the league. I think they're just a few points off relegation, but their squad and their gameplay seems to be on track. So I don't think they have too much to worry about right now.
Yeah, indeed. Well, that's the first bit of controversy and plenty more to come. But let's move on to Kayserispor Ankaragücü. This match will be covered by Umut.
Well, this game was a VAR game of the weekend, VAR game of the weekend, because Kayserispor found the goal at the beginning of the game, but got denied by the VAR call afterwards. By the replay, it was really tight though, because I couldn't even be sure how the goal scorer, it was Pedro Lopez, right? The Kayserispor winger.
Yeah, the first one, the first disallowed goal was Lopez. It was Pedro Henrique.
Pedro Henrique, yeah. He was just a fraction of centimeters behind or ahead of the last defender, and I would say it was like that. What Pep Guardiola was taking action from how we got denied multiple times in Manchester City. Like, it was too tight, and I don't know. Should it be counted? But VAR got in front and denied the goal. And afterwards, Ankaragücü scored by İlhan Parlak, and it was also denied by VAR afterwards. Really, this was though really openly wide by Ankaragücü scorer. And there was a handball by Ankaragücü defender Pazdan inside the box, and this wasn't initially called, and then given by VAR at the end. Mensah scored for the penalty. And in the second half, Ankaragücü midfielder, I think, Alihan, scored from a set piece by Ankaragücü, and afterwards, just afterwards, Cüneyt Çakır pointed for the spot after a ball came to Divor Orgil's chest, thinking it was a handball inside the box, but then it was turned down by Cüneyt Çakır by looking at the VAR replay.
You did gloss over a very important moment in the match there as well, I think. In the 48th minute, Cebrail Karayel got sent off with his second yellow. What was that? Yeah, go ahead, Umut.
I think it was the first got from a argument, like from a cheap foul and argument over a decision from the ref, like, and the second one.
No, the first one was just for a fall, and the second one was for a push, supposedly, where Pedro Henrique goes down very theatrically, but like 5 seconds after there's any form of contact, and I think this really just calls for the need of the ability of VAR to intervene on second yellow cards, because so often we see wrong second yellow cards that are very unfair. I think this is a prime example, a textbook example of where a situation where VAR should intervene on a second yellow card. It's funny, funny. It's kind of sad, really, how poor Cüneyt Çakır performed in this match, how many wrong decisions he and his crew came up with. And really, I mean, at 1-0 in the 48th minute, Ankaragücü get back in the match in the 68th, but they're playing with 10 men for almost a full half because of a poor decision. They're in the relegation dogfight, of course, so are Kayserispor. Decisions like this can make the difference between going down at the end of the season or staying up. So I think Ankaragücü really got hard done here by that. Fortunately for them, VAR overturned the second penalty Cüneyt Çakır decided to award for Kayserispor. A bit of news coming out of this as well. Ankaragücü have now apparently lifted transfer ban. That means we'll be seeing quite a few new signings coming in the next few days. They have also appointed Mustafa Reşit Akçay as their new coach. Of course, he was very successful with Osmanlıspor previously and had a very fun run in the Europa League with them. So I'm excited to seeing what MRA is able to do with this Ankaragücü.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was unemployed for like 2 years.
Yeah, I think he took a sabbatical or something, because he's a good coach in my opinion.
He was growing his hair and growing his beard.
Clear his mind, maybe.
Sorry, Umut, what did you say?
Maybe he just wanted to rest and clear his mind.
Yeah, I think so. I think he said something like that when he left his last job, that he wanted to take a time away or something. But like you said, it's maybe 2 years ago, so my memory could be a little hazy on that.
He also has one of the best interviews after match press conference, the shortest one. Like, we played bad and that's it. Bye. Yeah.
Legend. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. The Kasımpaşa Alanyaspor. A little bit of controversy here too, in my opinion. Pat is going to give us the lowdown on this match.
Yeah, I think there was a fair bit of controversy, less VR, but more ref decisions here. So we started off the game, both sides sort of having a couple of chances. Koita with a good, powerful shot, but straight at the keeper. First goal came from the visitors Alanyaspor from a corner. Brecker, I believe the pronunciation, was way out of position when he sort of ran out to chase the header, only for the Cisse, the striker, just to easily tap in, having been sort of left unmarked, basically. The first, for me, controversial position was Bienio stepping on the back leg of Haddadi. He did get a yellow card for this, but it could have been worse because it looked quite deliberate. And, it's a studs up kind of back of the leg thing. It could have, if there'd been an injury, it could have been a bit worse.
Yeah, reminded me of... was it Denizlispor? I think it was Denizlispor's left back step or right back stepping on Caner Erkin's Achilles in the Beşiktaş Denizlispor game. And for me, this was just a red card. I don't see how you can give a yellow for this. The ball is way ahead of him. He's not playing for the ball. The only way I could see this being a yellow if it's like accidental, but like you said, it looked pretty deliberate. This is a dark red card in my opinion.
Sure thing, yeah. And I think, again, the ref may not have had a good angle. I didn't quite see where he was looking, and it may have just looked like a deliberate trip, which probably would have been a yellow card based on the position. But, when you look at it to see how the studs were raised, I mean, it could have gone either way, really. But ultimately for Alanyaspor, it remained yellow and probably helped them down the line. So moving on from that, Aytaç had a good chance from a long ranger with the goalkeeper coming out quite far. He was closed down very well by the Alanyaspor team. Can't quite remember who that was, but that could have been 1-1 there. They did equalise, however, Kasımpaşa just after the hour mark with a penalty. The Alanyaspor defender, I believe it could have been Wellington, didn't really see the guy coming in, and it was quite an easy decision for the penalty, with former Beşiktaş legend Quaresma polishing off the penalty to make it 1-1. My personal man of the match, Junior Fernandez, started his sort of campaign to get Alanyaspor ahead, picking one out of the left wing. Came a little bit too low for Karaca, who looks like he tried to head the ball, but he would have had a good shot if he'd just waited a little bit and tried it on the volley. Alanyaspor did retain their lead in the 73rd minute. Another great delivery from Junior Fernandez, but kudos to Stephen Korka with an absolute textbook flick-on header to the back post where Salih Uçan was waiting, and powered home through the legs of both Haddadi and Fatih Öztürk, the goalkeeper. Really good, thoughts of Korka to give that flick on a go, because he completely baffled the Kasımpaşa defence, and Salih Uçan was in the right place at the right time, as they say.
Mm-hmm. His first goal of the season.
Yeah, maybe looking to try and get his career on track after a couple of ups and downs, mainly downs, to be honest, to the guy. But we'll see how that goes as the season moves on. The thing that did make me laugh, though, was you can kind of see Korka, after his little flick on, do what I call an İsmail Koybaşı, when he's kind of jumping up around, seeing if something's going to happen. And very happy to celebrate with Salih when he bags in the goal. I think Ismail did that against Sivasspor or something like that, when the ball just seemed to be ricocheting in the Fenerbahce, in the Sivasspor box, for someone to then put it away. I think it was Soldado or someone. But that was the final goal of the game, as it turned out. Junior Fernandez did another great cross to Cisse, who wasn't able to bury the chance. Later on, Quaresma did a good little cross to Aytaç, but he was very well covered by Wellington. And the final sort of minute of controversy was, I'm going to butcher this to any Bosnian-speaking fans. Hajrodijević, which really terrible challenge. I mean, the studs earlier was one thing, but this, he could have easily broken Siopsis's leg with a very deliberate stamp when he was on the ground. I don't know if any sort of TFFF decision come out, but it wouldn't surprise me if he got a slightly longer ban, because it was really dirty. Just deliberately went out of the way to kind of step on the back of his leg, and it could have been terrible.
Yeah, the guy was already laying on the ground, I think, as well.
Yeah, so goodness knows what was going through his head. But if he gets a longer ban, it wouldn't surprise me. And it's probably deserves it, to be honest, because that was really bad. He was Siopsis was very lucky.
Yeah, main takeaway from this though for me is kind of what if the referee gives a red to Bayano there at halftime? It's 1-0 in favor of Alanya. Kasim Pasha are starting to get a little bit in the danger zone. They need to start picking up some points, so this could be this is a painful loss for them perhaps at home again. So they need to pick up some steam. Let's move on to the next match. Fenerbahce taking on Başakşehir. This was the highlight of the weekend, I would say. Two informed teams. Başakşehir especially had not lost since matchday. Matchday 6, I want to say. They have been in great form.
Matchday 2.
Oh, sorry,
matchday 2. They hadn't lost since August.
Right, yeah. They have lost their opening 2 matches, and on matchday 2 they lost at home against Fenerbahce. So they hadn't lost in quite a while there. So how did that go, Pat?
It was a good game, I must say. I think obviously both sides looking to maintain the positions right at the top. Obviously quite a crowded top 5, if not 6 or 7 going on at the moment. So neither side wanted to lose points. It started off with a good sort of Fenerbahce attack. Max Kruse missing a good chance from a cross, but he just couldn't seem to direct the ball from Muriç's long cross there. Serdar did a good close down of Visca after sort of very Route 1 football from Met. Sort of pretty bad positioning from the Fenerbahce defenders, I must say, but so we had Serdar between the sticks to keep the score at 0-0. Rodriguez later then had a strong shot, but again at Met, which was a bit of a story of the match, really. A couple of sort of good, strong shots from Rodriguez, but he didn't seem to quite get the hit the target and beat Met at the end of the day. Başakşehir then had quite a good chance following a moment of madness from Dirar, who tried to, I think, seemed like chest it back to Altay. Only for Visca to then immediately come around the back and take the ball on. Fortunately, Altay, I guess, had come out to try and retrieve the pass, but was then in a good position to make the save. In terms of going back to the controversy, for me, it was a penalty. It looked like he was fouled in the box, but the ref said nothing, and VR didn't obviously come into play.
On the other guy's foot. Looked to me like a fall from Vedat, actually.
I mean, from the angle I seem to see, I'm obviously slightly biased, but I try to be relatively objective. For me, it's only just Muric ahead, but I guess nothing seemed to happen at the end of the day, and this is one of those things. Call it anti-Fener bias if you wish, but I'm very much on the fence here. Interestingly enough, a similar decision went. It went for Başakşehir, only for it to be reversed later on in the game. But interestingly, obviously, VR wasn't sort of brought in to maybe check things here, but there you go.
Yeah, I looked at it a couple of times, and to me, it looked like they were both going for the ball, and then Vedat ultimately, I think, steps on the guy's foot. But I could have seen it wrong, though. I don't know. I'm not adamant. So, does anyone remember this position that wants to chime in? Everyone drawing a blank. Go ahead, Pat. Get to the actual penalty that was later.
So yeah, just after that shot, Fenerbahce almost had a penalty, showing my objectivity here, but I think it was a correct decision, as I think the Başakşehir player did get the ball first. So things kind of evening out, I guess, maybe at the end of the day.
Yeah, supposedly Tolga even went up to Ferhat Aydınus and said it wasn't a penalty before he even went to VAR.
Yeah, so, good sportsmanship there as well. The penalty controversy didn't sort of finish quite there, as Elia went to ground just inside the Başakşehir penalty box. For me, it was a dive, and I think the referee agreed with this. And I think if it had even gone to VR, they would have seen the same thing. because it just looked like he saw the opportunity to go between two players and maybe grab a cheeky penalty. But
yeah, he didn't really have anywhere to go there.
Yeah, close but no cigar, as they say. Another good shot from Gary Rodriguez, but again, straight at Mert, the keeper, for Başakşehir. Finally, we get the goal coming in the 72nd minute from Max Kruse. For me, it's a great little run from him, going through the Başakşehir defence. Carlos Ponch was following Muric, so was heading off to, I guess, to the right-hand side, but Kruse spotted the gap on the left and was then able to put the ball finally past Mert, the keeper, for 1-0. Mert did keep Başakşehir in the game for a little bit from following a good shot from long range by Ozan Tufan. And there's another nice little cross from Gustavo, but Muric couldn't quite direct it well. Similar to the Alanyaspor game, it just seemed like he didn't quite get the height of the ball correct. Mm-hmm. Başakşehir almost equalised in very spectacular fashion from a great little Irfan Can overhead kind of shot, but went straight to Gulbrand Sen. Unfortunately for him, he didn't quite get his first touch far enough from Dirar to be able to have a clear shot, and ultimately the ball got cleared, remained 1-0 to Fenerbahce. Fenerbahce then grabbed the 3 points with a great little goal from Muric in the 86th minute. Rodriguez sort of dummied the ball as if he was going to go and shoot on his left foot. Eperenu covering his kind of left side to try and prevent another long-range effort, but Rodriguez, using his amazing speed, powered off to the right and then was able to make quite an easy pass to Muric, who was waiting there for a simple tap-in to make it 2-0.
Textbook counter.
Sorry?
Textbook counter.
Textbook counter, yeah. So, good little preparation for a little bigger game maybe next week. It could have been 3-0 with Muric making a very good final third tackle. But Mert was there to kind of close him down and keep the score at 2-0. For me, it's obviously a good sign for Muric's mentality. Even at 2-0 so late on the game, still looking to try and score and make chances. And the nice little 2-0 victory. Hopefully, a good preparation for the big match in Trabzon next week.
Yeah, and no real big controversy in this match, I would say. I think the biggest controversy probably came before the match. We spoke about it last week, of course, Vedat's yes or no deliberate second yellow card that, of course, was served then in the cup match. Yes, it did actually get reviewed, but the TFF decided that they could not prove that it was deliberate, so he didn't. He got off with basically, just got off. But I think it's important at least that they looked at it. I don't think much more to add there. Probably some people will still be upset about it. Anyway, let's move on to Sunday then, where Denizlispor Antalyaspor was the early match on the day. Antalyaspor, of course, going a bit mad on the transfer market this January. They've brought in some big names, including Adis Yahovic from Malatyaspor and former Galatasaray winger and Germany international Lukas Podolski. He was not playing here yet, but Adis Yahovic was. And Yakup, how did that end up for Antalyaspor? Did Adis Yahovic have an instant impact for Antalya?
Yeah, Yahovic is one of the proven players in the league. The moment he got on the pitch, you just knew that you had a good guy. I liked him when he played with Göztepe. I liked him for a long time. For this game though, it's just so good how it's so unbelievable how he's such a good player at the age that he is. He's 32, maybe not that old, but still. And you can just see him in the first goal. He had such a great run to get behind the defenders. The Denizlispor defenders were caught up in like a like a offside trap that they just executed way too late, and he was just so calm and collected. He got the ball, he dribbled it, and he finished it really wonderful. So he immediately got on the scoring sheet. As for the rest of the game, there was a position which really stood out to me, in which Denizli got a foul. So one of the Denizlispor players, it probably was Zeki Yavru. It was a right back. He took the ball and he passed it to the keeper, and Stachowiak just I think he just had a brain fart or something, and he stopped the ball with his hands, and the ref immediately blew on his whistle for a indirect free kick. But as one of the greater moments of this week, the Antalyaspor players noticed that this was a mistake by the keeper, so it wasn't intentional. And instead of just trying to get a goal out of it, they just kicked the ball out, which led to a lot of applause from the Denizlispor fans. So that was a weird moment. The second goal, this match ended 3-0 for Antalyaspor, by the way. The second goal was by Mukairu in the 40th minute. The goal was really nicely set up. Freddy, I think he's called. Freddy, the number 16 of Antalyaspor, just played a wonderful through ball to him, and Mukairu just finished it really well. Unfortunately for Antalyaspor, as good as Yahuic was, he got injured in the end of the first half, and he got taken out of the game. From what I've heard, he's supposed to be gone for 3 or 4 weeks.
Which is 4 to 6. He underwent surgery today, and he'll be out for 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay, so yeah, that's even worse. As I said, he's such a great forward, and for a team like Antalyaspor that isn't, the best at the moment, they're 15th. They really need a good striker to keep them up in the in the league. That's also why they had. Why they bought Sinan Gümüş. They bought Podolski, so they are really trying to keep their head afloat. So it's terrible news for them. I don't know how they are going to use Podolski. I don't know if putting him as a striker is a good decision. I don't know. I don't know how he did in Japan, so that's why I'm saying it. But they do really need it desperately need a good striker, because they put Leszuk in for Yahuic. Wasn't really that good, to be honest. He tried his best, but didn't really do a lot of damage. What I really thought about this game was it's unbelievable that Denizli didn't get on the score sheet. They had a lot of chances.
Yeah, they had a lot of attacks, but it kind of looked like they were lacking venom.
I mean, what it looked like for me was that a lot of players just started to panic a little bit. They went to the Antalyaspor goal a lot, but instead of being calm and collected, a lot of them just booted the ball, and it didn't really lead to really dangerous positions. They had a lot of shots, but still, you had Barrow. Barrow tried a little bit. Rodega wasn't that into the game. The midfield of Denizlispor isn't the greatest, to be honest. Onazi had a pretty okay game, I guess, but otherwise it could have been better. On paper the Denizlispor midfield isn't really wonderful, but they aren't bad either. So it's horrible. It's horrible as a Denizlispor fan to see that they don't perform as good as they should. So the game ended 3-0. The third goal was scored by Leszuk. But the bigger story around this game is probably the injury to Yahuic and how Antalyaspor is going to cope with it. But good win by them. A really deserved win.
Yep. I had the impression that the performance from the Denizlispor was a little flat, despite some intention going forward. But I don't know. didn't look like they were ever really in it to win it. To use a stupid phrase.
I mean, I can kind of see that. The Denizlispor, the game really looked. They played like local time for me, like 12:30. So it was a really, it's a shitty time to play. The pitch looked horrible. The pitch looked brown. But the winter months, it's cold in Turkey, so I guess you can't really blame that. But it didn't really seem like, if I was a fan that lived in Denizli and wanted to go to the game, I would probably just not go to the game because it felt like a somber thing, for some reason.
Plastic.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next match as Göztepe opened their brand new stadium and a fantastic atmosphere in the stadium, and they opened with style as they played Beşiktaş and won this match 2-1. Halil Agbunar writing history as he is the first man to score in Göztepe's new stadium in the 25th minute. He put Göztepe 1-0 up, but then Burak Yilmaz equalized from the penalty spot in the 38th minute. I have to point out that before Halil Agbunar actually opened the scoreline, Serdar Gürler got denied twice by Karius. I think Göztepe had 2 or 3 really good opportunities to open the scoreline before they actually did. And then right after they opened the scoreline, Jerome almost made it 2. But I think, again, plans thwarted there by Karius. I don't recall the position 100%, but that was so almost straight from the kickoff. Then after they opened the scoreline, they settled down a bit. Beşiktaş got more into the match, and like I said, in the 38th minute, they got a penalty. Burak Yilmaz converted. Beto went the right way, but the penalty was just kicked too well. It was up in the upper left corner. And beyond the reach of Beto. But then in the 3rd minute of stoppage time of the first half, there was a free kick won. In the 3rd half of stoppage time, a free kick was won for Göztepe. Serdar Gürler stepped up behind the ball, and Kelso Borges converted put it home from that free kick. A little bit of controversy here as there was a rules violation going into this goal. Tyler Boyd was down injured, and the referee paused the game, and the new rule stipulates that you have to give the ball to the last man in position. And this is actually how it was. This is a case of seconds apparently. So he blew his whistle as the Beşiktaş defender kicked the ball away, so technically that was still in Beşiktaş's possession. And then he blew it just a little bit before the Göztepe defender got the ball. So then afterwards he gave the ball to Göztepe. They took a quick long ball, won the free kick, and then scored a goal. Anyway, rules violation. So Beşiktaş have appealed this. This may result in a replay of this match. Going further now into the match in the second half, I had the impression Göztepe were happy with the lead and were trying to save and salvage it. They didn't look as dangerous going forward. Beşiktaş had some moments where they could have scored, especially at the very end. Beto with a very good save on an effort of Burak Yilmaz, but he, of course, made a brilliant save. So the full-time scoreline reads 2-1 to Göztepe. Obviously, Abdullah Avci had already been given his notice after the cup elimination. So on the bench here was Şenol Fidan and also, I believe, Gökhan Keşkin. But obviously, Sergen Yalçin will be bringing his own staff. But we'll have to wait and see. It might actually be that Göztepe get to open their stadium twice. If the match has to be replayed.
No way.
Well, they can make it a 3-0 than a gala match. It's I find it a little bit unnecessary, to be quite honest. But I understand it is where they're coming from, but I don't know. Beşiktaş are going through such a bad season. They should just be hoping for the season to be over rather than wanting to play extra games. Is my opinion really on that matter. But I can see where they're coming from. It did, of course, directly impact the scoreline unlike what Umut says that it was 2 minutes later. That's not the case, Umut. I hope you watched it back since then. Anyway, I don't know. Anyone got anything to add, Umut? The opening of the stadium?
My two pieces about Göztepe's new stadium.
Of course.
Yeah, it was really great to see Göztepe and the fans really finally meet their new stadium, Gürsel Aksel, currently located in Güzelyalı, Izmir. Really, it's really close to my where I used to live growing up, and now seeing there's a stadium built right next to my old neighborhood makes me like really happy and like childishly happy just thinking about it. And
time to stop supporting Galatasaray, stop being a plastic, and support your local club.
Yeah, maybe. No. Also,
hey, it's red and yellow in both cases, so it's okay.
Yeah. Also, Göztepe chairman Mehmet Sepil told the stadium capacity is currently around 25,000. Mm-hmm. However, he also told that as for Yalu's request, Yalu is the Göztepe's number one fan supporting group. Mm-hmm. Just Çarşı is to Beşiktaş. So they asked for the seats to be removed behind the goal stands. Mm-hmm. And also Mehmet Sepil confirmed it, and it will be removed, but for cautious reasons. For the caution in the first game, he didn't remove it because of the probable issues from overcrowding or any chaos, in order to prevent those from happening.
There were already people sitting on the goddamn roof, for heaven's
sake.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Oh my god.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, I don't really have fear of heights, but I think if I would be sitting up there, I'd be, dropping a deuce.
I am sure that fans had the best view in the city, looking at the sea from the Izmir's.
It's crazy.
Yeah. As to the Göztepe fans filled the stadium at its capacity limits, and the stadium was all red and yellow, mm-hmm. which was a really great view for the first game. And for the start of the game, from the first touch, Göztepe fans started singing the İsyan Marşı, which I really like, and I also joined and sang along with them in front of the screen. It was a really awesome moment for me.
See, you are a Göztepe fan, and
yeah. Well, growing up right there in Izmir, you don't have any other chance, any other option.
Apparently you did. You selected another club.
And the first goal in the stadium came from the Has İzmirli Halil Akbunar, also Göztepe'li. Mm-hmm. He really had to be the man.
It had to be him.
Yeah.
Had to be him, yeah.
I'm really happy for him.
We talk about him every week now. He's so brilliant. He must get the Turkish national team call-up. What more can this man do?
How old is he now? 27? 28?
Yeah, I think he was born in 93, around. Yeah, 93. He's same as Turc. Even though there are some positions argued by you and by the other fans of Beşiktaş, I still believe this was the kind of game that had to be the Göztepe's first game in the opening their stadium. Both sides found a lot of chances.
Yeah, I had the impression the referee also had that feeling, because it's been a while since I've been so annoyed by a ref going so one-sided on almost everything. I was surprised we got a penalty. Because I don't know. I mean, I think there was another clear penalty for Beşiktaş actually in the second half, where Necip just gets body slammed in the penalty area. They were looking for a handball on VAR. Couldn't find the handball, but conveniently missed the guy feeling up Necip like he was a $30 prostitute on the side of the street. I don't know what was up with that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Göztepe showed a lot especially in the first half, and I'm happy for them that they won this opening match. And can I just say how refreshing it is to see a club that actually built a stadium that is adequate to what they need. Like, okay, Göztepe could probably fill a 40,000 seater stadium from time to time, but 25k, 30k is perfect for them. They have a lot of loyal fans. And they'll fill it almost every week, or at least close to. But I just hate seeing stuff like with Konya, who have like 16,000 fans in their stadium every week, and they have like a 40+ K stadium, and it looks empty. Even though they have a good attendance, really, for a club that size.
Yeah.
So I'm just very happy that Göztepe didn't overdo it, just like Eskişehirspor, they didn't overdo it in the capacity. And it just, I think it gives a far better atmosphere. I mean, if you look back...
Also, you can see that it's the most supported clubs in the Anatolia, like Eskişehirspor and Göztepe. That you would thought they would make it overdo it for the capacity, but they did the best way. They would be like seem fully crowded every game, like and.
Yeah, how it used to be in Ali Sami and in İnönü back in the day, you know. Now you see so many empty seats when it's not a derby match.
Yeah,
I think for me the atmosphere is back, and I think the atmosphere in Ali Sami was better than it is now at Türk Telekom Arena. Because when it's not fully filled, it kind of sounds hollow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, great win for Göztepe. Of course, we'll have to wait and see if they get another chance at doing it over. No. I'm kind of on the fence as a Beşiktaş fan. Of course, I think hoping to go to Europe next season, we could really do with 3 points, but I don't want to take it away from Göztepe. I just think that, it's a beautiful win for them. I was very frustrated with the ref throughout the match. I mean, that one position right at the start where what's his name? Chichi almost kicks Diaby's head off, and he just waves play on. I'm like, what on? And I just knew right there, it's gonna be one of those games, huh? So
you're just prejudiced as always.
yeah. Of course, the guy gets his head kicked off, and he waves play on. Come on, man. And it just felt like every time a Göztepe player went down, immediately a free kick. When a Beşiktaş player goes down, play on.
How did you find your left back Rıdvan's performance?
I think he was okay. I think Beşiktaş fans kind of they wanted to like him so much because he's an academy player. I think he was fine, but he struggled with Halil Akbunar. But I mean, I don't think that's necessarily that's detrimental. Most backs will struggle to contain Halil Akbunar, but I just feel like Halil had like this cross relatively early in the match that Cameron Jerome connected with, but didn't connect with properly. I mean, but if that goal goes in, and if that's instead of Ridvan, that's Caner, then everyone is screaming, "Oh my God, it's again over the left side, and it's Caner's fault."
Yeah.
And because it's Ridvan and it's not a goal, I even think if it's a goal, people wouldn't say shit. But because it's a young player, they don't criticize him yet. But then, of course, if he becomes your first starting left back, then suddenly the shitstorm would start. So I don't know. I think it's early to say. I think he played okay. Going forward, he had a good moment early in the match, but then he had throughout the game, he had a couple of opportunities to cross the ball, and his crosses were very poor. So I think maybe he could be a serviceable, backup left back. Maybe he can be more. He's only 19, of course, so we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. What was your impression, Umut?
Well, defensively he was really good, and there was one position he just deflected a cross with his right foot, just reached it at the last second, and just kicked it to the corner kick. But if he didn't kick it, that right there, it might be a really threatening position for Göztepe, and they could score there. But that one position particularly impressed me for his defensive work. But yeah, as you said, offensively he is just but playing behind Caner could have been a bad impact, because Caner is always on the left side, always on that area. So.
Yeah. Oh, I was actually very happy, by the way, to see Tyler Boyd start in this match. And I think he played very well. But then he got subbed off in the second half, and Caner got put in. And I just felt as soon as that sub happened, Beşiktaş stopped playing football. Because before that, they were trying to combine, they were trying to create chances, and they created a couple. But then as soon as Caner came on, it just all became ball to Caner, cross, ball to Caner, cross. And I don't know what was wrong with Caner today. Usually Caner's crosses are good, but I don't think he had a single decent one here. So I think that's also maybe been part of the problem, because it's kind of that syndrome Beşiktaş had left from Quaresma. That was the problem when Quaresma was still playing. It was always the same thing. Always ball to Quaresma, cross. Ball to Quaresma, cross. They didn't try to play football. Caner has had statistically a good season. I think he has like 7 assists or something already. But I think whenever a player like Caner and like Quaresma is on the pitch, I think people are just too inclined to give them the ball and hope they get a decent cross in the box. And then you have one person in the box, and yeah, that's not going to do anything. But let's move on to the next match, unless you have anything else to add on Göztepe. Nope. Okay, let's move on to the next match. Konyaspor Galatasaray. This match ended... I'm not going to spoil it. Özer, how did this match end?
with all smiles for all Galatasaray fans. That's how it ended. With joy, a refreshing victory, 3-0 victory in Konya. No controversy, no absurd VAR decisions, no refereeing scandals, just pure football. No Belhanda either, which is even more of a highlight for me. I think
there were a couple of controversial decisions for Konya.
No. Well, we can talk about them if
there's
if there's demands.
And...
I don't know. Ball to hand. Anyway. I thought that this is probably Jimbom's best away performance of the season, although that's not a huge claim to make. But Konyaspor were pretty disappointing, even by their own disappointing standards. But in any case, it was nice confidence boost for Galatasaray to win handsomely away.
They look decent going forward, but just inadequate at the back, which is contradiction to what they usually...
Which is unlike what you'd expect from Konyaspor. Yeah, that's true. I mean, for me, it was just... To see Emre and Falcao on the score sheet, it was just so refreshing, because it's now 2 weeks in a row. We're talking about Emre, who's been out of action for almost 8 months.
In the Cup too, right?
We said, oh yeah, of course, yeah, in the Cup as well. That's true. And he's been out of action for so long, and he's come back fighting. He's come back strong. He's come back confident. He's come back on top form, really, exactly how we left him, and it's really a testament to his character and his professionalism. I don't
think I've ever seen a player come back from an injury like that and just hit the ground running straight away.
Absolutely, and we're really lucky to have a player like that at Galatasaray, and I really hope that he continues like this and sets himself a place in the Turkish national team. And the thing is, he's playing so much further forward now than anyone else who's played in that position for Galatasaray so far. And he's obviously, this is translating into goals, but he's getting so involved in the gameplay in and around the edge of the box in ways that other midfielders haven't really been able to do. And this is obviously translated not just for his own goals, but for Falcao as well. Falcao, who's also scored 4 in 3 games now, who's also on fire, which is exactly what we like to see. Shout out to Ömer Bayram as well. Haters gonna continue to hate, but this guy keeps proving them wrong.
Who hates
Another
on
brilliant performance from.
Do people hate on him?
There are still some. They do. There are a lot of people out there who say that this guy is a below average player. He shouldn't be playing for Galatasaray. Just kind of turning their nose up on Ömer Bayram.
He's obviously not a superior quality player, but he puts in the performance. So you can have a.
He shouldn't be seen as being any less quality than any other midfielder in the team, given that he's a top assist. He's top of the assist table for Gala right now. You know, it's not like someone like Feghouli is doing any better just because he has a bigger CV or he's played in bigger clubs. So he shouldn't be looked down upon for that. And I'm glad that Ömer is fighting through that. Adem Büyük as well. Nice to see him on the score sheet as always. He's a player I really like. A very underrated player in the squad. And now that Falcao picked up that slight hamstring injury, he's probably going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks. So having Adem firing in all cylinders is essential for Gala if we want to keep up this momentum. It's still a question mark surrounding the transfer policy of Jimbom, of course, and Zonzi is still a question mark. It looks like we're not going to sign another striker. Another central defender. No, he's still not gone officially. He's still in the squad, hanging around drinking Turkish tea, probably enjoying life in Istanbul. Not really sure what he's doing there. Yeah, exactly. And oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention was Sarachi as well. So he played pretty well. His attacking prowess is quite evident, and it's nice to see that we've got such an active left-sided wing back. But the question mark is out for me for his defensive abilities. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks as well through hamstring, but he's definitely made a positive start, and I just hope that he can kind of work on his defensive positioning and try and improve that part of his game as well.
Yeah. Umut, anything to add here? I believe you mentioned that it was Mariano's fault. It was all Mariano.
No, I was kidding right there because
Okay.
Mariano started the game after a very long time, and while all the Galatasaray fans were thinking him to be removed from the yabancı player list, he just appeared all of a sudden, and I was also surprised. But it did good for the team because after Saraki came, all attacking variations relied on the left side, and right now with Mariano, it just is more balanced more than ever because before Saraki, it was on all the right side and none of them came from the left. And right now it's in a perfect balance. But with the bad news that Saraki went injured is really scaring me. And also we have another option to put Linus right there. And make a benefit out of it, but it's also bad news as always. And I want to say that Mariana played really well in the game and making those two diagonal balls to put Saraki up front for a position. He did it twice in the game, and one came in as Saraki's cross and Falcao got injured, and the second time he did that, Saraki just went with himself and tried a long shot from just of the edge of the box. It was really close to a goal, but it went off wide, and Saraki then went out injured because of his fast run. It reminded me of that injury Markovic had in that Beşiktaş game 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, that's much pressure to the legs with that pace comes as a disaster at the end. And if your player is not that fit, it came as an injury at the end. After his injury, Terim just put Şener there, but I thought Terim would just shift Ömer Bayram right there and put a midfielder up front, but he didn't do that. He just put Şener to the left side, and I didn't think Şener would play there, and he didn't play well as well. He made too many passing mistakes, and as he's a really right-footed player, he's never relied on his left foot. It just blocked out attacks from the left, and I think it was just a bad move by Fatih Terim. He just rushed on his decision there a bit, I think.
What did you think of some of the penalty shots for Konyaspor? There was, I believe, a handball, but that seemed...
Yeah. It was also Şener's fault right there. He wasn't expecting the ball to bounce onto his chest. He's just at the end of the cross, and the ball just bounced right in front of him, and it indeed hit his right arm in the position, but referee didn't give a penalty. But I think it would have been given, if it was good, I wouldn't say anything, it was.
Yeah. And I think it was also a shout, Morali going down in the box in the first half, I want to say.
No, I don't believe it was a penalty, though. It was just, shoulder to shoulder. Yeah.
Okay, so Falcao and Sarachi will miss a couple of matches, but Galatasaray don't have the toughest schedule. They have Kayseri up next at home, so that should relatively be an easy win. Then Alanya away, I believe that's in the cup. Then they also have that week Kasımpaşa away, another relatively easy game. Then they have Alanya again in the cup, and then they have Yeni Malatyaspor at home. So that's for the next 2-3 weeks. So I think, those are all teams that they should be beating right now. Malatyaspor have come down from their good run of form in the first half of the season. They just lost Jahovic. I don't know if they actually brought in a replacement for Jahovic. So I think they might actually struggle a little bit in the second half of the season. I was actually surprised that they did as well as they did in the first half of the season, because when I watched them early on in the season in the Europa League, despite playing well, I kind of felt like they lacked a lot of individual quality, and I think losing a guy like Jahovic isn't going to help those matters. Do you know, Umut, if they actually replaced him with someone?
I don't think so. I think just push Thierry Bifume right there to help out the striker.
Yeah. Another thing that I should point out is Göztepe's new striker from Brøndby, Polish striker Wilczek. He scored a lot of goals in Denmark, so that should be interesting to see how he fares in Turkey. I know he was previously linked with Beşiktaş last year as well. High-profile signing for Göztepe. Could be an interesting one. Of course, Škoda at Rizespor has hit the ground running. And talking about Rizespor, let's talk a little bit about Rizespor. Yakup, they took on league leaders Sivasspor in Sivas. How did that one end? Did Sivasspor finally drop some points and give some hope to the ones that are following in their tracks?
So, first of all, it was -7 degrees Celsius there. So I saw some players playing without gloves, some players playing without, with short sleeves. Unbelievable. Props to all those players for being able to, keep themselves warm enough to play under those conditions. As for the game, as expected, with Sivas battling for the championship and Çaykur being a mid-table team this year, a lot of people thought that Sivas should be the one that just battles and just wins all possession and all the shots and everything. And it did kind of look like that. The first half was a really good half for Sivasspor. There was a moment where I think it was Kone hit a ball from around like 30 meters or something, and it just hit the post so hard. And like I was watching this game with my dad, and I just kept saying to him, like, I can't understand how they are so good. I know that they are good pretty much because Mert Hakan and Emre and Yatabare and Kone are playing really good. But the moment I saw that, I said to my dad, I was like, this guy is really old, and it's unbelievable that he's still doing this. He's 36 years old. He remembered him from playing from when he played at PSV, and it's so unbelievable to see a guy like that. I'm pretty sure that I keep repeating myself every time I talk about a Sivasspor game, but it just keeps surprising me every time. He played pretty much a whole match this time. He played like 80 minutes, and under these conditions for a player like him, it's unbelievable. There was a position where Sivas fans and players were waiting for a penalty. It was in the box. The ref didn't give a penalty because if you look at the replay, it was they was just battling for position in the box, and the Sivasspor player actually brought down Çaykur Rizespor player, and so it was a correct decision by the ref to not give a penalty, even though I haven't really looked at social media and didn't really follow what people were thinking about. I did see that nobody made a big point of this, so it was good that that the ref made a good decision for once. There was one really controversial decision, in my opinion, in which I just don't understand how people didn't make a bigger issue about it. Kone had a goal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember in which minute, but
it was a
1-0.
It was at 0-0, so it would have.
Yeah, it was 0-0, so it was before the 60th minute, and he got the ball. It was really great pass, and he finished it really good. And I know that you said it in the group chat that they were 1-0 up, and as I said, I was watching the game, but the ref went to VAR, and
Mm-hmm.
they disallowed the goal,
Yeah.
which in my opinion looked a kind of like bullshit. It looked so close to each
It
other.
was what was it? Offside or a handball? I don't remember.
It was offside, and it
Huh.
really looked like he was maybe like 5 millimeters offside. It looked like the red and blue line that they normally um, draw. It looked pretty much,
Yeah.
it
I
pretty much
really think they
overlapped
need
each
to
other.
implement a margin of error there. I think we said it last week too, but they need to do the IFAB needs to figure something out where there needs to be a margin of error on offsides. I think having a goal this large for 2 millimeters or even 2 centimeters is just that's going a bit too far. I think.
Wait, but you do it like in the goal line technology? What's the difference in the offside position?
The difference is that the goal line technology is the goal line is a static line, but with offside it's a moving line, so you can't really prove, because with offside there are multiple things to look out at, and with the goal line technology, it's the only thing you're looking at is if the whole of the ball just cross the line.
Yeah.
But with the goal line technology, you have to look at the guy passing the ball. You have to look at when the ball is leaving his foot,
Yeah.
the extremities and whatnot of the player that is trying to attack. So I remember a controversy in England where Sterling was offside for some position, but um, the papers and everything made a big thing about it. How, like, even if you went a frame later, he was onside, or a frame earlier, he
Yeah.
was, you know. So I am and will still be a big fan of VAR. It might have its
Yeah.
bad moments every
Likewise.
now and then, but the good things outweigh the bad ones. But
Definitely.
as a team, if Trabzonspor was in the position that Sivasspor was in, I would be so angry, because it just didn't look like offside to me.
Especially in Turkey, where immediately you have the feeling of, well, they must have fixed that image.
Yeah, and it was this similar thing that happened in the Kayseri game that I told. Pedro Henrique almost level with the defender, and this one is the same. Kone is almost level. How did they decide that?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I think there should be a margin of error implemented. I don't know exactly how much, like say, I don't know, 5 centimeters, 3 centimeters, I don't know.
Or if
Something
that-
for IFAB to
or if
figure
that-
out, but
Or if they don't implement that kind of thing, they have to implement a thing to influence the audience that the decision they have made is true by selecting a image that can tell that they're apart about like this like a given distance.
yeah, I know what you mean. Like they do on Marathon after the match, where they do show centimeters and stuff. But
Yeah.
of course, you can't do that when it's millimeters. Yeah. Anyway, we lost both Özer and Pat already, by the way. So it's gonna just be the three of us for the remainder. It's not much left, of course. Go ahead, Yakup.
So the goal was, in my opinion, a really pivotal moment of the game. The first half ended 0-0, and the second half, in my opinion, Rizespor were the better team. At least, like for the second half, Riza was a better team, but for the last 10 minutes, or rather yet, the 60th minute, Rizespor went on to score a goal. Garmash scored from a bouldering pass. This was more a blunder by Samasa to let the goal in than it was from
I highlighted it last week. When everyone was talking about Karius last week, because he, of course, blundered on the 1-0. But Samasa had like 2 or 3 big mistakes in that match that didn't get... Well, one got punished, obviously, by the equalizer, but the other ones didn't. So people don't talk about that, but he's not... I mean, he's a good goalkeeper, but, he's a...
I mean, it was a weird angle, but I never thought that it looked so weird, to be honest. It really looked like, for some reason, the ball went in slow motion, and then I when I first saw it, when I was looking at the game live, I actually thought that the ball went out, and the moment the ball went in, I think a lot of Sivasspor fans also thought the ball went out because there was like a split second of, you know, wait, wait, are we supposed to be happy? Are we supposed to be sad? You know, it was kind of a weird position for them. But after the goal went in, um, Sivasspor did what in my opinion makes a big difference for how well they're performing this year. Um, they seem to have that championship mentality. You know, they just went all in on Rizespor. You could see that Rizespor was overwhelmed every now and then because um, they were overwhelmed by how Sivaspor were attacking, were
Mm-hmm.
just pursuing every ball, just fighting for every ball, and it led to some positions. You know, I think I said that I said this a couple of times. I think that Gökhan Akkan, the keeper of Çaykur Rize, is a pretty good keeper. Um, he's not that old. You know, he's only 24 years old.
Yeah, 24,
Um,
25.
yeah, he's only 24 years old, and he has some great moments. I know that from some couple of games that he played in Rize at home, that he pretty much saved the team, and he did that. He did that this game too. But it seems that they need like a better, like maybe a veteran goalkeeper to help him with some small things, because it's weird. It seems like um, they really haven't taught him, you know, to catch the ball or push it away, because it's always like he just decides what to do like the moment the ball is in front of
Instinct.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
the main problem with Turkish goalkeepers in general. Like they just go on instinct and they don't learn those little tricks of the, like a thing that, for example, Thibaut Courtois would do. You know, and that's something I always lack with Turkish keepers. They always seem to lack that.
I mean it worked out for him for a couple of times. You know, he got the ball, he deflects it really awful. You know, it the ball really just he pushes it away, and it lands like 2 meters next to him. And Sivaspor had a couple of rebounds that just went over or just hit the post and this and that. But um, in the 90 plus fourth minute, I think 94th or 93rd, the same happened. He had a great save. Sivaspor put in a cross. It was headed by, I think, Yatabare. He saved that one. But same once again, either push the ball over the goal or catch it, because the rebound was so weak that the ball fell to Yalçin's feet, and Yalçin put it in to score and save Sivas from a defeat, and kept 2 points. So um, they finished this game 1-1. Obviously, as a Trabzonspor fan, it's music to my ears, because it opens the chance to close the gap that they made before the second half of the season started. But in my opinion, I don't think that that the Sivasspor fan should have a lot of issues with this game.
Yeah, it's a mental victory to get that point in the
Yeah, yeah.
in the last couple of seconds. And Umut, your dad had a great anecdote about that.
Oh yeah, my dad always says that if a team wants a goal like after the 90s, still acts for it, still has the eagerness to win.
The hunger.
In the long run, in the long marathon, they will achieve more than the other teams, because they want, so they deserve the win.
Yeah, you always see it with a team that ends up winning the league. They always have a couple of those matches in which they either win it in the fifth or fourth or fifth minute of extra time, or they get a point in the fourth or fifth minute of extra time. I mean, in the 13-14 season, Fenerbahce, I don't know how many games they won in the last minute. Beşiktaş had plenty of those moments. One that comes back to me, I think, Akhisar, where Cenk equalizes in the end, and a couple of more like that. And Galatasaray, I remember a match with Gençlerbirliği where Umut. Sorry? Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
2012, and the one that Hakan Balta scored in 2015, where Hamza Hamzoğlu won the title.
And of course, you mean teams will have those types of wins anyway from time to time, but you can especially see it. Teams that really aspire and end up winning the title, they're always going to get away with a couple of those wins. Unless, of course, you're Liverpool and you win every match. But even they have a lot of late goals in the 86th minute and stuff like that. That's not that late, of course. Anyway, let's talk a little bit then about the postponed match. Of course, Malatyaspor Trabzonspor was postponed, obviously because Malatya, the neighboring province of Elazığ, they also got hit by the earthquake. And yeah, the match was postponed, which to me, I guess, is kind of logical. But some controversy arose here. Fenerbahce made a statement. Yeah, Yakup, vent.
So I have been venting, you know, a lot on Twitter, a little bit on Reddit.
On his burner account.
Yeah, but I try to keep the WhatsApp group chat that we have. I try to keep it clean, even though Burak keeps poking me. I know it comes from a loving place.
Maybe you should, with your burner account, you should just follow him on Twitter and just poke him on there constantly, and just spew all the gall you have, but don't let him know it's you, of course.
But I get it. I get it that as a Fenerbahce fan, you're not a fan of Trabzonspor. And vice versa, as a Trabzonspor fan, you're obviously not a fan of Fenerbahce. I get it. That's just how rivalry works. I get it. I'm okay with it. I don't need a Fenerbahce fan to agree with me, as I think a Fenerbahce fan doesn't need a Trabzonspor fan to agree with him. But just all this bullshit just on Twitter. I know that Twitter is generally a really horrible place to go for football discussions.
Oh yeah, I had a couple of great discussions today.
But the moment that the TFF decided that the Malatyaspor game was going to be postponed, I was like, sure,
Yeah, in my opinion, it doesn't work in your advantage because you lose Wakayeme for the match against Fenerbahce.
Before even thinking about it, I didn't even think about that, to be honest.
The first thing I thought of.
The first thing I thought of was, okay, they made a decision. Doesn't really matter because the area, as I said, was hit by a pretty severe earthquake. But you had like a couple of hours before that, Malatyaspor put a statement out on Twitter saying that all the revenue that was going to be made in this game was going to be donated. So I was like, sure, do it. I'm happy for it. And Trabzonspor put out a statement saying that they will agree with whatever the federation wants to do. If they choose to play the game, okay. If they choose to postpone the game, we're also okay with that. But the moment that they decide that the game is going to be postponed, you have the Yeni Malatyaspor president go on Habertürk and talk about how they asked the TFF to keep the game playing, to keep the game going on, because the area was hit by a lot of bad things, and they want to boost morale as quickly as possible. On the other hand, you have a lot of news guys, reporters that are close to the Trabzonspor board, saying that Trabzonspor didn't ask for this. They asked the TFF to do whatever they want, and they would respect the decision. But out of nowhere, you just have Ali Koç going out again, crying his balls out. As I said in our group chat, I wasn't the biggest fan of Aziz Yildirim. That much is to be clear, and I don't think that even a lot of Fenerbahce fans were a fan of the guy. But he did what he was a guy that just said did what he said. He didn't cover himself behind the guys, behind some people, behind board members. He just went out and did his shit. But then you have the Fenerbahce board. Just the country is going to a tragedy. You have dozens, hundreds of houses that have been damaged or that fell down. You have dozens of deceased. You have thousands of people that are injured, and then you put out a statement saying that, well, we can't understand why the TFF has done this. Trabzonspor played a midweek game in the cup that went to overtime. So the players had a long game. They played 120 minutes. Trabzonspor have 4 players that are on the yellow card limit. So if they played against Yeni Malatyaspor, they could have gone. They could have been suspended for the Fenerbahce game. We don't understand what this decision is made for. How this decision is made. I'm paraphrasing, by the way, but that just made my blood boil. I don't understand how you can think about sports in a time like this. There are people dying. There are people that don't have houses, that don't know how their future is going to be like for the next couple of days, couple of hours, couple of weeks, and then you're just crying your balls out, hoping, thinking.
How do you cry your balls out, Yakup?
Just crying your whatever. Just all the moisture water in your body is
eyeballs.
Eyeballs.
Yeah, eyeballs.
It made me so angry. It made me so angry. And then you have, Fenerbahce fans going to the Trabzonspor Twitter account and just keep talking about everything, about things that happened years ago. Trying to, say like, okay, but if this game is postponed, why wasn't that game postponed? But
I have a good game in my head that I could say, could point to why was that game not thrown out. Why didn't you get a 3-0 loss, you fucking assholes? Damn it, I shouldn't be swearing.
But it just pissed me off, and it was nice to see that the Trabzonspor board just put out a statement that just said like, dude, what the fuck is your problem? Is this really the thing that you're worried about at the moment? A lot of reporters, I know that a lot of TV personalities like Erman Toroğlu and stuff just were so angry. Like if their problem is to win the cup, just give them the cup. It at this point everyone is really done with Ali Koç and the Fenerbahce board. It's just unbelievable that that some people can think about stuff that are so trivial like sports and football, where you have people dying and you have people without houses.
It's the worst thing is that all the crying works. It pays off. I mean, look at just this past week, Fenerbahce, who are, I believe, 100 million minus on their TFF allotted limit, and they get 16 million lira freed up to still do transfers. Meanwhile, Beşiktaş, who are 2 million plus, aren't even allowed to sign their coach yet to make it official. Apparently, they have to wait until tomorrow to get everything fixed with the TFF. So, I mean, I just feel sometimes like there's 2 sets of rule books. There's 2 rule books, one for Fenerbahce and one for everyone else. And sorry, Fenerbahce fans, but case in point, that whole cup game incident a couple of years ago. Burak, I hope you're listening to this because you know I'm right. It's, I don't know. It's, stop crying and play football, guys. And I realize that I say that now as a Beşiktaş just cried their balls out over that whole Kural Hatası, but I just think, shut up and play. Sometimes.
I mean, I get it. We talked about this a couple weeks ago that a decision by the board, by any board, to put pressure on the TFF by going to the media, going to the public, and talking about the refs and whatever decision they made is, in my opinion, a smart thing to do. I'm not going to say that it's a good thing to do, but it's a smart thing to do because it sways referees and the board to push some decisions your way.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. It that's the sad part. It works. And it's not just Fenerbahce, for the record. Like a lot of clubs put pressure on the referees. I mean, look, Gaziantep just put out a statement the other day, and What was it like a couple of months ago? But the smaller clubs tried to. They all tried to put pressure on the referees. Of course, when the smaller clubs does, nobody gives a shit. So.
Yeah.
But when Fenerbahce does it's an entire media campaign, obviously because they do have such an influence in the media, and more power to them for that. But yeah, it gets exhausting.
I mean, we can sit and argue about how we think that the TFF is partial to a certain team, or is more positive or more helping to a certain team. But you and I know that people will always pull things from the from the past that benefited you guys. Let's
Of course.
if you said something, they will say like, oh, but Beşiktaş did this or this, but that's not the point. You can go back, years, ages. We're talking about now. It really infuriated me. We had some people, especially on Reddit. I made some couple of threads talking about the stuff. I try to keep my thoughts away from stuff like this, but I try to be as neutral as possible. But you have some, Fener fans just. It's good to see that some Fener fans are like, Ali Koç, what the fuck are you doing? Just shut the fuck up. This is not the moment to do this. But
yeah, in general, I think, I understand that Fener fans are kind of like, just go, just do it. But I think, at any other moment, fair game, influence the refs, whatever. But this is kind of like, look, a tragedy just happened, like a real tragedy just happened. So this is not where the priority should be laying right now. Instead of making an official announcement on this, they should be sending out condolences.
Yeah,
which I'm sure they did, by the way. I assume they did, but yeah, it's kind of the sad state of Turkish football in a way, but also we have to admit it's kind of what makes it so fun. Just all this controversy. It's like the tagline, like our tagline says, the exciting, controversial, and crazy world of Turkish football, and that's exactly what it is. And this is yet another example of it, another chapter. Yeah.
I mean, if this happened, let's say you lived on a rock for the last month, you didn't have any contact, you didn't have any news sources, and someone came up to you and said, Kaan, this happened, but didn't talk about the federation or the teams that were involved in it. If someone came up to me and said, this happened, a certain team did this, and a certain team did that, where do you think this happened? The first choice I would have is like Turkey. It must be Turkey,
or Greece maybe.
that whole area. It's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate.
Most definitely. Well, I think we spoke enough about that. Let's quickly get to the standings, Yakup, if you please.
Yes. So in first, still the leaders of the league, Sivasspor with 41 points. The second is Fenerbahce having a good start for the second half of the league. They have 37 points, beating Medipol Başakşehir 2-0. Başakşehir is third with 36 points. Then you have Trabzonspor and item is Alanyaspor that have the same amount of points, 35. Trabzonspor is fourth. Item is Alanyaspor is fifth. Sixth is Galatasaray.
Trabzonspor obviously have a match less, so they can jump to 38.
Galatasaray is sixth with 33 points. Beşiktaş is seventh with 30 points. Göztepe with their new stadium and their brand new, the first win in the stadium against Beşiktaş. 29 points, just behind Beşiktaş in eighth. Then we have all the teams tied with 24 points. Yeni Malatyaspor with a game in hand. Gaziantep Futbol Kulübü with 24 points is 10th, and 11th Çaykur Rizespor also with 24 points. The 12th is Yukatel Denizlispor with 22 points. 14th is İttifak Holding Konyaspor with 18 points. And then you have the battle for the relegation zone with 15th Antalyaspor with 17 points. Kasımpaşa with 15 points is 16th. 17th is Ankaragücü with 13 points, and bottom of the league, Kayserispor in the 18th position with 11 points.
Okay, let's quickly head to the fixtures for next week. Then on Friday, Başakşehir will take on Gençlerbirliği. On Saturday, we have Antalyaspor hosting Konyaspor, Rizespor hosting Beşiktaş, which will be Sergen Yalçin's first game as Beşiktaş coach, of course. Trabzonspor take on Fenerbahçe, and then on Sunday we have Ankaragücü with Mustafa Rešić Akçay in his first match taking on Kasımpaşa, an important match for Ankaragücü. Maybe they can get a key win there in the relegation battle. Gaziantep Futbol Clubu take on league leaders Sivasspor, Alanyaspor take on Yeni Malatyaspor, and Galatasaray take on Kayserispor. Then on Monday we have one match, Denizlispor taking on Göztepe, and those are the fixtures for match day 20 in the Turkish Super League. Guys, I think we covered everything and then some. Maybe one more thing, quickly your thoughts on the big managerial change. Sergen Yalçin, how does his job at Beşiktaş look? Do you think he can turn things around? Yeah, Umut, I'm gonna let you go first. I know you have followed his managerial career quite closely.
Well, as you can know, that he's never as quite consistent as a manager as he used to be as a football player. As a big team, I'm quite unsure if a big team can rely on him in this bad stage of the table. But seeing how Abdullah Avcı turned out really bad in the last few weeks, getting too many bad results, I think some of the Beşiktaş fans might think this can be the solution for that problem. But also thinking that he's a young manager, younger than most of them. And
47, yeah, pretty young.
Yeah. So could be good solution for Beşiktaş if he decides to solve the matters and solve his problem of this inconsistency in this stage of his career. This can be a solution for both of them in this stage. Because I know that if Sergen wants to do something, he's really successful at it, but he never just wants to do it. He's lazy.
That's the reputation. That's the reputation he has, at least. Yakup, do you think he's been working towards this for a while? I feel like he's been working towards the Beşiktaş job for years, and kind of always kept the door open. If somebody would go out, I kind of feel like his lack of commitment to other clubs may have a little bit to do with that as well. But is this the right time for him to come in? Beşiktaş are obviously in a difficult period. They have some deficiencies in the squad for sure. Do you think he should have maybe waited 6 more months, or do you think this is ideal? Get in now, get to know the squad, the club a little bit. Of course, he knows the club, but he has now 6 months. I think he will have plenty of credit with the fans, and he signed a 1.5-year deal. Would you have come in now or at the end of the season if you were Sergen?
If I was Sergen, I would probably come at the start of next season, but that hasn't really a lot to do with him. But more that the Beşiktaş job is not an easy one. With all the stuff going on right now, I don't think it's a smart decision to try to right the ship. I'm also never a big fan of having old club legends come to lead as a manager. Yeah, even though Sergen has a pretty good track record with other teams, and he has been a manager for a while now. It can lead to two things. Either he does really well, like what Karaman did with us and Şenol Güneş, or he comes in and the results start to become a little bit better and then go really bad, and then everybody starts to hate him.
Yeah.
I just hope for Beşiktaş's sake, for Beşiktaş fans' sake, for Sergen Yalçın's sake, that it goes well for him, not too well, so that you end up on top of us. But I think it's going to be hard for him. I know that a lot of players that play at Beşiktaş at the moment are big fan of him because of obvious reasons, and he is a guy that is known for his laid back attitude. I hope that it can work at a place like Beşiktaş where you have really talented players.
I don't know if he's that laid back as a coach, though. I always have the feeling that he demands quite a bit of discipline from his players. Ironically enough, I mean, you remember that anecdote from Efe Can Karaca, where he said had this funny story about Sergen, where he told Sergen, "Hoca, why do you always make us run so much? You never ran as a player." And Sergen replied, "If you had half the talent I have, then you can just walk around or something like that." But of course, as a joke. But I don't know. I mean, Beşiktaş have a core of Turkish players, of course, young and upcoming players. Maybe Sergen will. He came through the youth ranks at Beşiktaş too. Maybe he'll give some chances to some of those players.
A question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would the Ozzy's probable departure Feyenoord affect the decision that Sergen Yalçin is about to come, or just wait until the end of the season?
No, Ozan said he spoke to Sergen yesterday. He got Sergen's opinion, but he already made up his mind that he wanted to. Yeah, he's gone. He's going to Feyenoord, which is another interesting matter for me, because at first glance I was like, oh yeah, Feyenoord's good. You can get some minutes, you can get playing time there. Maybe get his mojo back, find his smile back, like the famous wrestler Shawn Michaels. But then I actually went and looked, and I'm like, what do Feyenoord actually have in their midfield? And they have Leroy Fer, Jens Toornstra, and of course Orkun Kukcu, their wonder kid. So I'm kind of worried if Ozan is going to get a good playing time, because one of the things he said, I want to go back to my family, because obviously he is from Holland. I want to be close to my family, and just I kind of have the impression that Ozan's depressed, and that he's suffering from some mental illness, depression, whatever it may be, and that he just needs to. That's really the impression I got. He needs to get away from Turkey, from the toxic environment that Turkey can be. Back to this home country where there won't be that much pressure. And that's one of the things he said. I want to enjoy football again, and you could just see that wasn't, working out for him at Beşiktaş at the moment. And but I honestly question how much he's going to be able to play at Feyenoord. And the loan is for 6 months. There's no option to buy. I don't know if that's a decision from Beşiktaş or from Feyenoord. I could see it being a decision, of course, because Beşiktaş loaned Kyle Laurent to Zulte Waregem with a 2.5 million option to buy, and he's doing really well there. They're definitely going to buy him. And then you're kind of thinking, well, maybe we could have gotten 4 million for him, So I don't know if that's the case here with Ozan, where they just don't want to tie down to a fee that they might end up getting later. But I don't know. You're from Rotterdam, Yakup. How do you see his chances?
I mean, it's slim. I think that he won't be a starting player. As you said, the Feyenoord midfield is pretty much a Toornstra Kukcu first. And then the third player is just for the moment Leroy Fer has been playing pretty decent, but you also
who could you see Ozan maybe dropping from the side if he ends up getting in there? Because I mean Orkun Kukcu is probably not gonna be dropped for Ozan. That would be madness.
I don't see Kukcu dropping. I actually don't see any of them dropping, to be honest. So I don't know. I don't know why Feyenoord did this. As a Feyenoord fan, as a fan of Ozan, as a player, I'm pretty stoked. For him to come to Rotterdam. I can kind of see his decision. As a guy that's born and raised in the Netherlands. He's from Zaandam, which is
Amsterdam, right? That's close to Amsterdam.
Which is close to Amsterdam. It could be that the last couple of years at Beşiktaş weren't the best. I don't know if I want to go the mental health route. I don't really like it to I don't really like it to diagnose people. But I can understand why he wants to come back to Rotterdam. I don't know, man. It's going to be really hard for him. We do know that the Dutch league is a league, the Eredivisie is a league that is really attacking, really technical league. And even though Ozan slowed down a bit, I still think that he can play with the better players in the league. I just hope that he gets enough time. You have Feyenoord is playing in the KNVB Beker, the equivalent of their cup, the Turkish Cup. They're playing the
Hmm.
Dutch Cup. Um, they're at the moment they are third. They are 10 points behind Ajax, and they need a little bit of more headroom in the midfield. They at the
Hmm.
moment only have four midfielders. They have Tapia, Fer, Kökçü, and Toornstra. So I think that it was probably um, yeah, how do you say it, a
A depth
break,
move.
yeah, a depth move. So um, I hope it works out for Feyenoord. I hope it works out for Ozan. As I said in the group chat, I would have loved him at Trabzonspor, even though we also have a stacked midfield. um, I know that he isn't the best. He isn't at his best anymore, but there is something to the guy. Probably because he's a Trabzonler that I kind of like the guy for some reason. I just hope that for
Yep.
both sides, for Feyenoord, for Ozan, and for Besiktas, it works out so he can get back to his old form.
Yeah. Well, talent-wise, I don't think there's any debate here. Ozan is a very talented footballer. It's just a question of getting his head straight. I'll quickly read his quotes here if you'd like. The president left. The coach left. I can't do what I want to do on the pitch anymore. There's also other reasons. My performance the last year or so has been highly questionable. My family lives in Holland, and I want to go to a place where I can play. Where I can play, yeah. There's Euro 2020 coming around. I want to be happy on the pitch and regain my confidence. I'm going to Holland to be happy and at peace. I hope I will perform well and earn Besiktas some money. And he goes on. I've worked with Şenol Güneş for 4 years. I see him as a mentor. He generally helps everyone. I've spoken to him and asked for his opinion, as well as 2 or 3 or other important people in my life to make this decision. I'm going to Feyenoord. And then finally he said, I've also spoken to Sergen Yalçin yesterday. He had his opinion as well, but I had already made up my mind. I hope this agreement will be good for both parties. So yeah, I mean, I think that just sounds like somebody who needs a change of scenery.
Yeah.
And he's 27. He's still quite. I mean, right now he should be in his prime, and I think he peaked like 3 years ago when he was 24, 25, and we also had such high expectations of him. But maybe that's also been part of the issue where the expectations became so high because he was already so good at a young age, and he just kind of crumbled under the pressure. I think that's definitely what happened partially. Supposedly also had a bad breakup and
Yep.
stuff like that. So yeah, things just not going well for him. And then of course fans turning on him. I was so disgusted when the fans booed him. Like, I mean, after 3 years or 2 years playing very poorly, I can understand it, but they were doing it like really, really early on, which I just did not understand. Anyway, all the best of luck, of course, to Ozan, and hopefully for Besiktas he can come back, play for them again next season, maybe under Sergen Yalçin. I mean, Sergen did the unthinkable and turned things around for Ozan Tufan, I think, who was somebody who everyone had written off already, so why not with Ozan next season? We'll have to wait and see, of course. Anyway, I think that'll do it for this week's edition of Football a la Turca. Yakup and Umut, of course, thank you very much for joining me, and thanks to Pat Cox and Özer as well. And once again, rest in peace, Black Mamba.